You conducted the largest survey on sexual fantasies in America. And so first of all, let's talk a little bit about the most common ones that you discovered.
Sure. So I surveyed more than 4,000 Americans from all 50 states. I asked them about their favorite fantasy of all time, and I content coded those fantasies to look for themes and found that there were really seven main themes that account for people's favorite fantasies of all time. And
Okay,
just to
interesting.
quickly run through them, they are first multi-partner sex, so anything involving more than two people. Next was BDSM, anything involving power, control, or rough sex in a way. Next was novelty and adventure. So just doing something that's new and different for you, such as sex in a new position or location. Then there are the taboo fantasies where you're doing something that is socially or culturally forbidden. The non monogamy fantasies where you're fantasizing about being in some type of sexually open relationship. Then there's the passion and romance fantasies, which are more about emotional fulfillment rather than, the explicit sex act itself. And then lastly are kind of like the self-exploration fantasies where people are kind of pushing the boundaries of their gender role or sexual orientation in some way, such as a cisgender person who fantasizes about cross-dressing, or a heterosexual person who fantasizes about a same-sex experience.
Well, I mean, it seems to me fantasies are normal and healthy in a relationship, whatever they may, obviously we don't want to hurt anybody, but in general, I think it's a healthy thing. Like how does that work? Is that, let me pose an example for you. Let's say if you have a couple, one who is into a fantasy and the other not so much. How do you approach that? What do you say? Or do you say, hey, I got an idea? Like, walk me through this.
Yeah, so that specific issue comes up a lot where partners might have a discrepancy in a desire. And when partners are sharing fantasies and your partner says something that you're not into, here's how I tell people to respond. Because of all the taboos and stigma and shame that's in. Next, if not to see, that's okay, but take a little bit of time to think about it and think about whether there are aspects or elements of the fantasy that you might be into. So sometimes letting it marinate for a little bit, maybe doing
Right.
a little help to change your view, because maybe you're not into it because you've just never thought about it before. It's just a totally different and foreign thing to you.
Well,
And if you're not into it, that's okay too. But think about, are there other ways that you can help your partner meet their sexual needs? So, for example, is there a compromise fantasy that you can come up with where you're taking elements that you're interested in and elements that they're interested in and combining it in a way that is mutually satisfactory and pleasurable?
it's all about the same word in so many things when you talk about relationships: communication. It comes down to not being afraid to have that conversation, but communication is key. And I think when you look at relationships, they talk about the strains in relationship, right? It's commonly children, it's probably commonly money, but as you mentioned, sex is a big one. And I think having that conversation, I mean, half the time too, you don't even know. You assume your partner doesn't want to do this or doesn't want to do that, and then you bring it up in a polite and in a mature way. um, it could change your life, really.